Thank you, Mr. President. Members, maybe you could gavel this giant woodpecker over here behind me on the wall. I rise to present SB 847. California is a very diverse state. We traditionally make every effort to ensure the diversity is respected and accommodated. In the North State and other parts of California, there are a large population of folks who wear turbans or patkas as part of their religious beliefs. Within those groups, some enjoy riding motorcycles. This is where the conflicts exist between their religious freedoms and the California law. Currently, no helmet on the market exists that will accommodate a turban or a patka being worn underneath. Many states have exempted adults over 21 from wearing helmets while riding motorcycles. Several other states do not require helmets at all. SB 847 would simply exempt Californians who wear helmets, who wear a turban or patka for religious reasons from wearing a helmet while operating or riding a motorcycle. This is not without precedence. Our own U.S. military allows the wearing of turbans and patkas instead of wearing head covers. Even Canada law exempts those who practice the Sikh religion from wearing the safety helmet. California is well known for the strict laws to protect people from themselves, even when it's their choice. My hope is that this body will consider protecting the freedoms we hold dear regarding our diverse religions in this state. With that, I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Dahle. Discussion or debate? Senator Gonzalez.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President and members. I certainly respect my colleague from Bieber. This went through Transportation Committee. I couldn't in good faith support this because I believe traffic safety and upholding that, the issue of folks that could fall off of their motorcycle and get a severe head injury, I think would be, supersede religious freedoms. And so although I understand that, we did some research in the Transportation Committee. Canada does allow some exemptions, but it's very few and far between. And no other state, from my knowledge, has also provided an exemption for individuals who wear turbans. There are some innovations out there, but they're only for bicycles, not motorcycles. So with that, we've worked on this. We've talked about this at length. It's a very interesting discussion. I'm glad it's in front of us today, but I cannot in good faith support this, and I will be voting no today. So thank you.
Senator Allen, you're recognized.
Yeah, members, I voted for this in committee, and I think there was a number of us who wanted to give the author an opportunity to keep working on it. It doesn't seem like any amendments have been taken, so I think I'm laying off now. There are some opportunities for moving forward, given some of the technologies that are out there, but I think we ought to focus on those technologies for safer riding rather than just a blanket exemption. I was hoping that by the time it got to the floor, this would have been worked out. It doesn't appear that it has, and I'll be laying off.
Senator Suyarto.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as a former public safety official that actually went on motorcycle accidents and understand the mechanics of what happens out there, the population represented by this particular bill is not significant in relation to the population of people that get in motorcycle accidents in the first place. And also, when you narrow that down even further into people who are actually are involved in a motorcycle accident and the trauma is from head trauma, it narrows it down even more. If somebody chooses to jump on a motorcycle, they're already at risk. And this isn't going to put them any more at risk or less at risk than they would ordinarily be. And we cannot control that. My own mother died in a motorcycle accident, and she was wearing a helmet, and the helmet had nothing to do with why she died. So I think there's a point at which we start trying to do more than necessary for people to make decisions on their own behalf. And when you're talking about religious exemptions, we do that all the time. We do that with land zoning, we do that with this, and we can do that with this also. This is very important to the community that is affected by this, and it is their responsibility, and it's their risk. And so I'm not sure why we feel the need to continue to impose something that is against their religion, which is to take that off when we don't have anything to replace it anyway. So with that, for that reason, I am going to support this, even as a public safety person that understands the risks and dangers of these type of accidents and how you can get some head injuries from them. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Next up, I have Senator Cortese, followed by Senator Caballero, and then Senator Wiener. Senator Cortese, the floor is yours.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of SB 847. We did have a robust discussion in committee, and since that time, I've checked in with the author multiple times to try to determine what his commitment was and is going forward to try to keep working out administrative procedures to make sure there's no fraud, make sure things are verified, make sure perhaps there's a DMV process involved, just like there is for so many things that are required when you take on the privilege of operating a motor vehicle. That said, I'm supporting the bill, though, primarily because I consider myself a First Amendment purist. Hopefully I live up to that. But I think if I'm going to live up to it today, I need to allow whatever possible efforts might occur during the remaining legislative process here to protect these First Amendment rights and give the author a chance to find that ground before cutting off that opportunity. Because we heard testimony in committee directly from members of the community that would be protected in terms of their rights, who basically said they would rather die than take off their religious headwear. That's a strong religious commitment, but it convinced me that this isn't any kind of a ruse or a ploy. It really is about forcing a proposition on people that we don't like to see forced on anybody in this country. And since the legislative session continues, if we get this off the floor today, I think the author has an opportunity in good faith, which he has promised, to try to find that ground where we protect these First Amendment rights without compromising the integrity of public safety or the Department of Motor Vehicles administrative programs that exist. And with that, I urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cortese. Senator Caballero.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I also rise in support, and I rise because I think it's important to understand that for members of the Sikh community, this is a religious observance. This is a tradition that goes back thousands of years, and this body in the past has done far more for absolutely no reason at all. We have basically allowed people to jaywalk, despite the fact that it's illegal and it's dangerous and you could get hurt crossing the street here. We have also allowed bicyclists, I don't know whether it ever got signed, but bicyclists to not have to stop for traffic signals, for stop signs. Again, for the convenience of the bicyclists who kind of don't follow the rules anyway. This, on the other hand, is entirely different because this is part of a religious observance. These are grown adults making the decision as to whether they want to get on a motorcycle, as was articulated, a very dangerous act in itself. And for that reason, I'm going to be supporting the bill today.
Senator Wiener, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate where the author is coming from and the supporters. I know this is coming from a good place, but unfortunately, I will not be able to support this bill today. I think when it comes to religious exemptions, especially around things like health and safety and civil rights laws and other really critical public policies, we have to be extremely cautious. When the legislature, I think it was 30 years ago, enacted the helmet requirement for motorcycles, I know that was hugely controversial, and I'm sure it continues to be controversial today, but this was a significant health and safety measure. It's not a minor thing. And when someone has a head injury because of a motorcycle accident because they're not wearing a helmet, it affects them and their family and their children. It affects the entire community. It affects the healthcare system. And so that's why we made that decision. And I think we should be very, very, very cautious in exempting people from important health, safety, or civil rights or other important policies in terms of exempting them. So I will not be supporting it today.
Thank you, Senator Wiener. I have Senator Grove, followed by Senator Min. Senator Grove.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of SB 847. I represent a large Sikh, Hindu, East Asian community, not only in my district, but I have a lot of friends that are in this religion throughout the state. And I can tell you that the headgear, the turban, is called a dastar. And it's one of the 5 religious symbols carried and worn by baptized Sikhs. And it's on their body most all times, especially in public. Being asked to remove it is a sincere insult to their faith and what they believe. And it's a symbol, they really do believe that it's a symbol of holiness and of spiritual power. Each turban or dastar, depending on the color, has a different significance in the Sikh community. And I think that stepping on religious freedoms and religious faith, like this body, it hurts my heart that is done on several occasions through different religions. This is just something that should be considered to allow the Sikhs, a very small population in our communities, to be able to honor the God they serve and not have to have their headgear removed. Again, it's an insult, and it is considered a spiritual power and purity issue with the Sikh community. Respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Grove. Senator Min.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. I appreciate the robust debate. I was not planning on speaking on this bill. I also represent a vibrant Sikh community. I also represent a lot of folks that like to ride motorcycles. That being said, I want to echo the comments of my colleagues from San Francisco and from Santa Monica. This is not a law that's targeted at the Sikh community. It's a law of general applicability. It was enacted for reasons of public safety, and there's lots of examples of laws like this that apply again, neutrally to all religions, but which may have the impact of affecting some religions that have certain beliefs. There are people out there who genuinely believe they should not work with or eat with women, but we have laws that say you can't discriminate in the workplace in that regard. We have people out there who believe that they shouldn't have to treat certain types of patients or deliver certain types of medical care, and yet we have laws that are of general applicability that requires doctors to do that. I'd say that this law that we have in place is meant to improve safety, and as unfortunately, while I would love more Sikhs to be able to enjoy riding motorcycles, they are not immune to head injuries. And while they may be a small community, they're still vulnerable to the same accidents that we all are. So I'm not going to be able to vote for this bill today, and you know, I look forward to the technologies that are described in the description here of turban-sized helmets or turban-like helmets, so that more Sikhs can be able to enjoy motorcycling. But I just think this is a problematic bill.
Thank you, Senator Min. Senator Eggman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also wasn't planning on speaking today, but I also have a very large Sikh community in my district. I have the first temple in the U.S. in my district, and we have quite a few motorcycle groups in my district. And I hadn't even kind of thought, but they generally don't wear helmets. They wear a turban, and so kind of asking them to break the law. And I just think because we have passed laws that says everybody must have insurance, everybody should have health care insurance, we provided for all of that, that this is not. To me, this is not analogous to somebody treating somebody else with disrespect because of their religion. This is somebody saying, I want to make this personal decision for myself or my own religion. And I am a libertarian enough to support that.
Thank you, Senator Eggman. Seeing no further, excuse me, Senator Umberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Question of the author?
Would the author take a question?
Absolutely.
All right, please proceed.
I am not familiar with the Sikh religion. Does the religion require the riding of motorcycles?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further conversation, questions, debate, discussion? All right, seeing none, Senator Dahle, you may close.
Well, thank you to all the members who spoke. I think this is probably the most controversial bill I've ever brought forward. I want to thank the chair of Transportation who did work with me to get this bill to this point. There is no technology available for a helmet that is out there. We did the research on that. There is some work in the area of small children for bicycles, but there isn't anything for actually motorcycles. So that's number one. Number two, we reached out to the California Highway Patrol law enforcement folks, And basically, they have just been giving warnings. They're not citing them. They've been giving warnings. I don't know. There probably has been a ticket somewhere. But for the most part, because of their faith, these are people who don't drink. There's a lot of other things in their religion that requires them to be really safe with their lives. And I actually inherited this area of Senator Nielsen's, which is the deferred area, have the largest Sikh community in the nation. Quite frankly, Yuba City in that part of the district, and learned about this as I am now representing them. So brought it forth. I'd love to get the bill out. I know there's some work to do there. We looked at areas where we can actually put something on their driver's license that would allow us to identify that they are Sikh of that religion, so that we don't have everybody using this as an exemption who just doesn't want to wear a helmet. But really, they do not take their turban off. In fact, when they came into the building to lobby, some of them had swords as well, and they were allowed to come in this building with a sword. And I have a photo in my office with somebody with a sword on their side. So we do allow them to even come in the building with something that we don't allow anybody else to come in the building with. So I will commit to you that I will continue to work on this bill. I know there's a lot of areas, but I'd like to get the bill out into the Assembly where we can have more time. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Dahle. All debate having ceased, Secretary, please call the roll. The measure's out, 21 to 8.